and every time I'm disappointed, But it's my idealism. But I get people wrong, And I thought maybe this election cycle, I don't know, even the most diehard hypocrites maybe would realize, like, okay, this whole thing with Biden, wrap it up. But Bernie Sanders proves that he's a nutless wonder. But so does the fantastic tag team of Kyrstal and Ryan Grimm, as they're pivoting back to Joe Biden. They both stated that Americans have extra cash in their pockets, while Joe Biden's economy is great. If it wasn't for Gaza, they'd be defending Joe Biden. We've got a couple of clips here first. Hold on. Before I pull up the cuck Bernie Sanders, let's pull up this site right here. I know. Hold on, folks. It's only 38 seconds, so bear with me.
It is an incredible tragedy because, before Gaza, I was out there saying, listen, it's not just a lesser two evils vote. If you look just at antitrust and you look just at labor.
And just at wages. Like, wages now are growing faster than prices, and they have been
like if you care about
all right, now Ryan Grimm lives in an ivory tower. So to my viewing audience, is Ryan Grimm correct in his assessment as wages are growing faster than prices? Type 1 for yes, Kit. Ryan Grimm is a reasonable reporter who has done fantastic work and never once got things wrong. Type 2, man, that boy is way off. What do you mean wages are rising higher than prices? I can barely pay for anything anymore. Ryan Grimm's job is so boring that my cock falls off.
And especially at the lower end.
If you care about checking corporate power, the people he put in place in key, positions have done a great job, and they've been aggressive, and it's been groundbreaking. And it's been a real break from the Clinton-Obama Democratic Party, and obviously wildly better than, Trump had a bunch of union busters in at the end.
Yes, anything better than Trump. But hold on. Gets better.
Higher legacy of economic populism, which, as Kyle was saying, like before the speech, he would be defending, I would be defending. There's so much that you can say about it. The fact that prices jumped and are still high, and rent is still a huge problem, is itself kind of a cloud over everything else that he's done. Yeah. But everything else he's done is not nothing. Like low unemployment rate, labor militancy, cash in people's pockets. Like the economy overall in the last 3 years, a result of the kinds of things that the left has been pushing for years, is headed in the right direction. But you're not going to find anybody who's willing to celebrate.
Yeah.
Who wants to celebrate? What's there to celebrate about? No, seriously, I want to know, what is there to celebrate about? What should we celebrate about it precisely? That's what I want to know. Are we getting a new deal? Are the American people actually earning more? No, we're not. What is happening? What is happening now in this country is an overall pushback against the neoliberal economic system. And it's quite clear that the Democrats have had numerous opportunities to do the right thing, to push back against Joe Biden, but they haven't. Why? Because a lot of the progressives in the Democratic Party, they don't want to shake things up because they have it working good for them. They got enough sycophants to defend them. I want to pull up this tab here. Shout out again to KWTB, because here is the nutless wonder himself, Bernie Sanders interview talk about Biden, Israel-Palestine war, ceasefire to allow food and aid into Gaza, and telling his supporters, his voters, the people who supported Bernie, the nutless wonder from 2016 to 2020, to support Joe Biden, his good friend, his buddy, his pal in 2024. I regret any kind word I ever said about this man.
You have long been a critic of Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. The other night, President Biden was heard on a hot mic after the State of the Union address saying he has to have a come-to-Jesus talk with Netanyahu about letting humanitarian aid into Gaza. Have you spoken to President Biden about whether he's had this conversation? If he hasn't, what is he waiting for? And if he already had it, has it made any difference?
Well, I've spoken to people very high up in his administration. Here's the bottom line. Margaret, what we are seeing in Gaza today is literally an unprecedented crisis. It's not just that 30,000 people, 2/3 of them are women and children, have already been killed.
Are you gonna say the genocide word? Can you say the G word? What would you call it, Bernie?
We are looking at the possibility of hundreds of thousands of children starving to death.
Would that fall under the category of genocide? Inquiring minds want to know.
The United States of America cannot be complicit in this mass slaughter of children. So it is one thing to talk to Netanyahu, to pressure Netanyahu, but here is the bottom line. Year after year, we have provided billions of dollars in military aid to the government of Israel. Right now, you have a right-wing extremist government under Netanyahu. There are plans to provide him with another $10 billion in unfettered military aid.
Your supporters want to know, whatever remains that have hope in you, what are you going to do about it, Bernie? What precisely are you going to do about it except give us another word salad? Are you going to call it a genocide?
Well, you can say to Netanyahu, stop the slaughter, allow the massive amounts of humanitarian aid that we need to come in to feed the children. Please, please, please. Oh, but by the way, if you don't do it, here's another $10 billion to continue the war. Now, we have written a letter to the president. It turns out that Israel is in violation of the law. Stopping American humanitarian aid is in violation of the law. That should be clear. No more money to Netanyahu's war machine to kill Palestinian children.
You said Israel's in violation of the Foreign Assistance Act, as have a handful of other Democratic senators. They may also be in violation of the Leahy Act. The president himself has the national security powers to suspend. Do you really think, though, in a presidential election year, that the president of the United States would halt or pause or condition aid to one of the closest allies in the Middle East?
Well, I think it is the right thing to do. You can't beg Netanyahu. You got to tell him, if you want any money, you got to change your policy. Allow the trucks to come in to feed the children. And by the way, in terms of politics, which is secondary to my mind in this issue, the truth is, whether you're a conservative Republican or a progressive, you do not want to see children in Palestine starve to death. So I think it's good politics, and it's the moral and right thing to do.
So people are being killed. Now, hold on. Killing, right? So people are dying. People are being killed. So I have right here, it's a book. It's called The Thesaurus, all right? So I'm not using Wikipedia. But according to this book, The Thesaurus, right? Not a dinosaur. Killing. Homicide, manslaughter, murder, assassination, bloodletting. We got slaughter, we got carnage, we got butchery, we got decimation, annihilation, genocide. Oof, hold on. I read that word wrong. Genocide. Oh, my goodness. Hold on. Genocide. Genocide. Huh. Well, I mean, if you can't use the G word, why don't you call it annihilation? You call it manslaughter. You call it murder, carnage. I mean, according to the source, it's a noun. So genocide falls into that category. I mean, I think a lot of people would prefer it if you called it a genocide because that's what's happening in Gaza. But according to this book, I don't know. You think Bernie will do it? No, because he's a nutless wonder and he's giving out word salad.
Do you stand by your view that a full ceasefire with Hamas is unrealistic because that terror group seeks to destroy Israel?
What you need right now is a ceasefire tomorrow so that the trucks, the massive amount of humanitarian aid can come in to feed the people who are starving. But you have Hamas is dedicated to destroying Israel, yet the Netanyahu government, which is dedicated to destroying Hamas. I think at the end of the day, Hamas cannot be continuing to run Gaza, and the Netanyahu government cannot continue to run Israel.
Hey, no one informed Bernie that Hamas was supported by Israel. I mean, what? Shish. You don't want to know how it's intertwined and interconnected, right? Bernie, did you ever look into that, Bernie? Anyone ever want to slip you that note, Bernie?
If we're going to ever bring peace to that region.
But a temporary ceasefire is sufficient for you.
To feed the children right now is what we've got to exactly do.
Okay. Yesterday, President Biden was asked about Israel's plans to launch an operation into the southern city of Rafah in southern Gaza. Listen to what he said.
Would invasion of Rafah, which you have urged him not to do, would that be a red line?
It is a red line, but I'm never going to leave Israel. The defense of Israel is still critical. So there's no red line. I'm going to cut off all weapons so they don't have the Iron Dome to protect them. They don't have. But there's red lines that if he crosses, and he cannot have 30,000 more Palestinians dead.
Was that clear to you in terms of where that red line is, and what do you make of it?
Margaret, 1.7 million Palestinians, 80% of their population, have been driven from their homes and displaced. Many of them end up in Rafah. To go in there and to displace them again and start a major military campaign would be an unmitigated disaster.
Mm-hmm.
So my view is, of course, we cannot support an attack of that kind on Rafah. Bottom line is, though, Netanyahu has got to be told no more money for his war machine unless there is humanitarian aid coming in to feed the people.
Well, that'll be in the hands at the moment of the House of Representatives, which hasn't scheduled a vote. On the politics of this, more than 100,000 voters in Michigan went uncommitted to protest Mr. Biden.
Now, here we're going to hear the uncommitted voters, right? Especially in Michigan, Minnesota, and a few other states where voters wrote in uncommitted to Joe Biden, uncommitted because they feel that not only has Joe Biden been complicit, but he's been a willing participant in the destruction of Gaza. And many of these people in Michigan, Minnesota, and a few other states during the recent Democratic primaries, I just want to be clear here, okay? Extremely, extremely clear here. They've lost loved ones, and they're upset with the Democrats. Now, what do you think Bernie Sanders is going to do? You think he's going to listen? You think he's going to care what the people want? No, he's going to still tell people to vote for his good friend, Joe Biden. His buddy, his pal.
Biden's policy. In the state of Minnesota, in the recent primary there, you saw a similar boycott. Almost 20% went uncommitted. Given your moral objections, your personal issues here, can you, in good conscience, ask your supporters to vote for Mr. Biden?
And what do you think Bernie Sanders is going to write? What do you think he's going to write? What do you think he's going to tell his supporters? No matter what, he's going to tell them this via email, text, smoke signals, or via in person, or on television or on the internet. He's going to tell the people, his supporters, to still vote for his good friend Joe Biden. But I'll let you decide. Type 1 for Kit. He's going to tell them that they're open and free to choose however which way they like. Type 2, no, he's going to tell us to vote blue, no matter who, to support Biden because Twump, Donald Twump.
Well, look, the contrast that I think President Biden made it very clear in the State of the Union address. If you believe that climate change is real,
he's going to bring up climate change. He's going to bring up all the stuff that he's ever talked about. God, I hate this man.
You got to vote for President Biden. If you believe that women have a right to control their own bodies, you got to vote for President Biden. If you think that at a time of massive income and wealth inequality, you don't give trillions of dollars in tax breaks to the 1%, you've got to vote for Biden. If you want to lower the cost of prescription drugs, you got to vote for Biden. If you believe...
Has any of that happened under Biden? I take back so much. Anything kind I ever said about Bernie Sanders, I am so sorry. I regret anything that I've ever done to promote or say praise about Bernie Sanders. I have to live with that L for the rest of my life. What a complete disappointment you turned out to be, Bernie, because what if you believe in climate change and all these other things, we got to support Joe Biden. Joe Biden doesn't give a damn about the environment. Joe Biden doesn't give a damn about the kids in cages. Joe Biden doesn't give a damn about a woman's right to choose. Joe Biden doesn't give a damn about infrastructure. Joe Biden doesn't give a damn about voters' rights. Joe Biden doesn't care about political rights. Joe Biden doesn't care about press freedoms. Joe Biden doesn't care about the people in Gaza. Joe Biden doesn't care about the fact that we are in needless wars. He's as corrupt as they get because he's the architect of this neoliberal system. He's one of the many architects. Many politicians contributed, and he was one that was happily opening up the doors for corporations so he could bend over and they could stick it right up his wazoo and he'd smile while they're doing it.
Believe in democracy and involving people in the process rather than keeping people from voting, you have to vote for Biden.
So you're saying progressives need to put this aside?
I am saying we've got to not put it aside. The fight continues to change Biden's policy in Gaza.
Like how you did, Bernie? Like how you just stepped to the side when you wanted some of your progressive policies passed or implemented and Joe Biden crumpled it into a ball and threw it in the trash can? You're telling progressive voters that we gotta, swallow it, go ahead and get ready to vote Biden? I'm going to encourage my audience to vote however which way they feel, because you're not telling the truth here, Bernie.
But the contrast between Biden and Trump is day and night. The election of Trump would be a disaster for this country and, in my view, the world. We've got to come together, re-elect Biden, but at the same time, we have to demand that we have a progressive agenda where we have an economy that works for all, not just a few.
So you're standing by your endorsement of Mr. Biden's election despite the current policy?
Something that's funny because he's like, well, no, he's speaking out of both sides of his mouth. Hold on, one more time. Just watch him struggle here.
Biden, if you believe in democracy and involving people in the process rather than keeping people from voting, you have to vote for Biden.
So you're saying progressives need to put this aside?
I am saying we've got to not put it aside. The fight continues to change Biden's policy in Gaza, but the contrast between Biden and Trump is day and night. The election of Trump would be a disaster for this country and, in my view, the world. We've got to come together, re-elect Biden, but at the same time, we have to demand that we have a progressive agenda where we have an economy that works for all, not just a few.
So you're standing by your endorsement of Mr. Biden's election despite the current policy?
No, I am not supporting Mr. Trump. No,
No, Mr. Biden.
The election of Trump would be
No, you fool. You fool. She didn't say Trump. She said Biden. Biden. Trump. Trump. You saw that? He deflected, said Trump.
Yes, that's right.
Senator Bernie Sanders, thank you.
Follow up with that. Oh, I love it. CBS didn't even answer. Didn't even say, well, wait. What? Hold on.
Is to change Biden's policy in Gaza, but the contrast between Biden and Trump is day and night. The election of Trump would be a disaster for this country and, in my view, the world. We've got to come together, re-elect Biden, but at the same time, we have to demand that we have a progressive agenda where we have an economy that works for all, not just a few.
So you're standing by your endorsement of Mr. Biden's election despite the current policy?
No, I am not supporting Mr. Trump. No,
Mr. Biden.
The election of Trump would be yes.
Yeah, Bernie, you freaking heard her. You heard her. You sneaky, spineless, yellow belly coward. Why? Anyone that still holds out the hope for this nutless wonder, this cock. I didn't say Trump. I didn't say Trump.
Of Mr. Biden's election despite the current policy?
No, I am not supporting Mr. Trump. No,
Mr. Biden.
The election of Trump would be yes, that's right.
Senator Bernie Sanders, thank you for your time this morning.
Thank you.
Yeah, you fucking nutless wonder. Ay. Okay, so let me get this straight here. All right, you got Ryan Grimjob, Crystal Ball saying, "Oh, if it wasn't for the Gaza thing, Biden would be doing great. If it wasn't for people dying, Biden should be supported by every single independent and progressive voter here in the United States." And of course, you got Bernie Sanders weighing in, giving us his old-fashioned word salad, all the while we are stuck with the fact that this man Bernie Sanders is supposedly the front man for the progressive movement. And yet he's still saying, oh, no matter what, we still got to support Joe Biden. Joe Biden, who doesn't support any of the progressive policies that Bernie Sanders was running on in 2016 or in 2020. Don't meet your heroes, folks. You're going to be disappointed. These are scumbag individuals. I think the actions of Bernie Sanders, being the nutless wonder that he is, says a lot. And progressives, independents, please, no more hero worshiping. We learned this lesson the hard way. We saw firsthand how pathetic Bernie is. And he is more than willing to not only bend over backwards to appease the Democratic establishment, he is willing to take what remains of his supporters, followers, anyone that listens or clings onto his words once again into the Democratic Party so that Joe Biden can be president, right? He is seriously suffering from Trump derangement syndrome. And at this point, you can't expect anything to be done. You can't reform the Democratic Party, and you can't rely on people who say, well, Biden is doing this and Biden's doing that, and he's bad. But, if it wasn't for this genocide thing, he'd be great. Because there's a lot of people in corporate media, a lot of people, to be clear here, that are all in for Joe Biden. And I just want to end this on a final note because, I think we deserve to laugh. I think we deserve to have some humor. So I want to end this on a humorous note because things are so pathetic here. Things are such a joke here. I want to give the final word to Fat Tony himself, where Cenk Uygur is suspending his 2024 campaign. Let's talk about what he did on how he pressured and had a victory over Democrats. Honestly, so many people from 2016 that I respected, nothing more than clowns.
When we started, Anna, everybody was super skeptical. You remember on the show we did the thing, the petition to get Biden to drop out, et cetera. And at the time, people were like, you're crazy, you're crazy. Let me read a list real quick of since I entered, the people that have said, I think Joe Biden's gonna lose. Okay, so we have David Axelrod, James Carville, Paul Begala, Bill Maher, Bob Costas, Charlamagne the God, Jon Stewart, Ezra Klein.
And they're all still telling people to vote for Biden. They're going to still tell people to vote Democrat, Cenk. All these people here, oh, yeah. Yeah, they're all saying that, yeah, Biden's a senile old goat. But they're still going to tell people to vote blue. They're still going to tell people to vote Biden because if Biden remains the nominee after the DNC convention in Chicago, that list of people, you know what they're going to do if Biden loses? They're going to be like, well, we said this would happen, but honestly, you know what? The reason why people didn't turn out to vote is because they're all secretly Trump supporters or and third parties did something. Cenk, this isn't a victory. This is embarrassment. These same clowns are going to still tell people to vote Democrat.
That is just a short list of all the people going, we're going to lose, watch out, watch out. Nate Silver, I forgot to put him on the list. Everybody basically saying that we were right. Mm-hmm. We were right. And so I want to congratulate my supporters for being right. And then
you got to get all three of them in the backseat of your car and just tell them, hey, look, guys, it's over. Cenk's campaign brought in $425,000. You people and your money, man. I mean, why would you do that? There's a word for that. It's called suckers.
Finally, there's goal number 4, which came up, which was the Gaza situation, and that happened right, of course, as I was entering the race, and I was trying to push politicians to say, hey, maybe we should consider or reconsider Israel's funding. Mm-hmm. Since they're taking this money and not listening to us and committing these war crimes. And I prepared a clip, I think the producers have it, from Bernie Sanders just last week. So let's watch that.
The United States should not be giving Netanyahu and his extreme right-wing government another nickel for their war efforts that are killing so many innocent Palestinians.
So did we move the ball enough? I don't.
He didn't move the ball at all, buddy. Okay? None of you did.
No. And that's a good question for everybody out there to decide. Did we move it enough to say victory? No, I don't think so. You know, maybe Biden drops out after the primaries, in which case we say we had a big role in that.
No, you didn't. You had nothing. It was a far in the wind, Jank. It's far in the wind.
Definitive one, but a sizable one in what we did. If next election cycle a naturalized citizen wins, or if we can actually get Bernie Sanders and others to push for ending the funding of Israel, if they're going to continue to do this, then we'll have won something tangible and real. But for the moment being, I got caught trying.
Man, so much disappointment after 2016, you know? And I gotta admit, I gotta carry that L. I gotta carry that L of having respect for Bernie Sanders, respecting people like Kyrstal or Jank, and to some extent, maybe a little bit even Ryan. But holy cow, especially after 2020, seeing how people failed, seeing how people were utter hypocrites, folks. It is abundantly clear that there are going to be so many people, not only within the larger outlets of the independent media sphere, but also in corporate media, in Hollywood, and amongst the Democratic establishment, that are going to be telling you that you got to support Joe Biden. Now, I don't know how the DNC convention will play out here in Chicago, and we here at Hard Lens Media, as well as a few other of our colleagues in independent media, we are going to do everything in our power to cover and interview the protesters. I don't know if we can get inside the United Center or the McCormick Place. We will try to do everything we can to cover it. We will hopefully walk out with our minds still intact. However, this should fuel you to get more motivated to support local elections, citizen ballot initiatives, and start building movements and organizations not connected to Washington, D.C. Mutual aid, building community outreach programs. These politicians and these people in these larger media outlets are going to tell you the same thing. Click, copy, paste. Vote Democrat so we stop Trump. Vote Democrat so Trump doesn't take over. Vote Democrat so we have normalcy. It's not normal to see Americans starving. It's not normal to see Americans struggle to pay for medical bills. It's not normal to see so many Americans living in tent cities. The Democrats did have an opportunity to do the right thing, as did the larger, quote unquote, independent media networks, because they had the following, they had the lightning in the bottle to actually inspire people to do more, but they chose not to.